Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Hard Knocks, Miami Dolphins edition on Story Archives. I'm your host, Mario Busto, joined by the one and only Chris Romero. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me back. It's exciting. It's exciting times.
Chris,
I'm ready to dive into this episode.
I was watching this week's episode. I was wondering to myself, if this goes all right, because we talked about the pros and cons in episode 1 of the Dolphins being the center of attention, right? We haven't really proven yet that we can beat a contender. I believe we can. It's just we haven't seen it, right? We have to. The moment this team has made it is when we beat some contenders in the playoffs. Really, that's when like if we go second round against KC or against the Ravens and we beat them, which I don't even have the Ravens on that echelon with KC, but you beat a team like that, or you beat the Bills. Now you're talking. Now you're talking you can win a Super Bowl. But I was thinking this show, despite having its downfalls of, putting a target on your back and perhaps distracting the locker room, it would be the most epic documentary of all time if they had documentary coverage of this team going all the way to the Super Bowl and winning. That would be the craziest thing.
Insane. I feel like that'll be a gift from the football gods to us that has been struggling.
It was like, hey, here's 20 years of terrible football, but we'll give you a Super Bowl and we'll give you a 12-part docuseries about the whole journey.
And the whole docuseries behind the whole thing. I think that'll be great. I feel like, we're getting 2 episodes now where we win, so it's good. I mean, like you said, we have to correct what we said last episode where we were like, oh yeah, this is the first time they do a mid-season, which
Hard Knocks.
We stand corrected. They've been doing this.
Yeah.
They haven't featured Miami for a while.
The first team was actually the Colts, and then it was the Cardinals, I believe. Yeah. And I was actually corrected by multiple people, but we had an emailer write in, which we can start right off the show with an emailer who wrote in about last week's episode from Ryan. He starts it off with, Dolphins suck. Laugh out loud. Just kidding. Anyway, just to be clear, this is the 3rd season of Hard Knocks in season. My Indianapolis Colts were the first team to do so in season Hard Knocks 2 years ago. Last year, the Cardinals were featured, which now I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes, I've lived in Oklahoma the last 21 years, but I'm a Hoosier, born and bred. Been a Colts fan since the move in '84. Got made of for years before the Manning era. Also got made fun of in the Manning era. Get made fun of still, but that's the way it goes, I guess. I'm liking the Dolphins' chances this year. Pretty solid all around. The speed is incredible. Too bad about A-Chain getting injured. He's going to be a beast. I actually drafted him in my fantasy league this year, but cut him after week 2 like an idiot.
Oh, man.
He then proceeded to put up huge points, of course. Then he got injured again, which in hindsight made the cut okay. When he came back a couple of weeks ago, my team was going up against the team that picked him up. I was mad. I don't like getting blasted by players I cut. Then he got re-injured in that game, which is bad for football, but was good for my fantasy life, I guess. Anyway, that dude is that dude. Also have the Miami defense on my team. They've been really good for me. Ryan, thanks for the hate. Thanks for the love. We know what it's like to be hated.
We appreciate that, brother. I'll one-up him. I drafted Achan, right? I drafted everyone my last pick in the fantasy draft, and I dropped them after week 1.
After week 1, is it?
Because I was.
At least tell me it's a 10-team league. That would redeem you.
Oh no, absolutely not. It's 12-team.
I mean, if it was 12-team, it would redeem you. If it was 10,
yeah.
Actually,
no, it's 12-team. 12-team is more difficult.
No, 12-team would redeem you. I'm trying to think of my logic straight here. 10-team, every team is stacked. 12-team, it's like slim pickings.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you, Ryan. Appreciate that email.
We were right in episode 1 that episode 2 would be centered around the defense. I thought we would also get a little bit of the running back room. We did not. This was actually a pretty fitting choice, right? And it was heartbreaking for the Dolphins fans, right? Because we had a very positive week. We won 2 games back-to-back on a short week. But despite having a dominant defensive performance, we get the critical loss of Jaelan Phillips, which
Yeah.
sucks because you're watching the whole episode and it's like setting you up, and the editors made a choice to just take this down the route of get you feeling good for Jaelan Phillips, and then boom.
Hit you with the reality hit.
Yeah.
I feel like I mean, correct me if I'm wrong too. Man, does HBO like just feature a couple players? And I mean, I'm sure they knew they were going to feature the defense in the second week. It clearly seemed that way. But man, to feature Jaylen Phillips, like imagine them filming and they got all this Jaylen Phillips content, and then that happened. Then you're like, well, we're gonna have to feature this.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll answer
So
that in 1 second. I'm gonna lower my AC because it is hot as can be in my home right now. 1 second.
go ahead. Let's all appreciate Mario's dolphin jacket as he walks away. Also, so we'll do that.
Doesn't help that I have this Mondo Dolphins bomber on, but
I just said that.
this is gonna be my uniform for the rest of the season. But to your point about do they just choose one player, and this is just a coincidence that he got injured in this week? I mean, look, if you think about the focal points of this defense, you're going with Jaelan Phillips, Wilkins, Ramsey, and Chubb,
Chubb, yeah,
maybe. Xavier Howard didn't get any shine in this episode, which I think might be because I was reading some articles that Xavier Howard was like really against the idea of Hard Knocks. So I wonder if they're just like, all right, you don't want to be on Hard Knocks, then we won't put you on Hard Knocks. I don't know if it's that. I hope it's not that, but because he's such a focal point of our secondary. But you got that, and Jevon Holland too. We can't leave him out. But
yeah,
I would like to. I think they probably featured a bunch of players, and then what happened with Phillips steered the narrative completely in his direction, right? Because his story is epic as it is. His injury history at UCLA, taking 2 years off, bouncing back at the U, still getting drafted in the first round.
yeah,
Facing all this adversity, even this season, bouncing back from injury, and then just when he's getting rolling, tears his Achilles. So
yeah.
it's heartbreaking. We knew the direction it was going in the entire episode, but I don't think it was one of those things where they were going to profile Phillips from the beginning. I thought it was just what I think's happening to the Dolphins, which is we're an offensive juggernaut, but I feel like the identity of our team is slowly shifting to being a defense first team in a lot of ways.
Yeah, which is beautiful to see because, as we always say, defense wins championships when it comes to football, especially
in the cold.
Yeah, especially in the cold. So we just have to have when we acquired Jalen Ramsey and we got Bradley Chubb, and I was like, okay, like we're making things happen. We got Fangio. We talked about this last week, and it was like a slow start, especially losing Ramsey. But even as we segue into the actual episode, we open here with Jalen Ramsey, talking a little bit about his change. We see him in the Inside NFL episode, which it was awesome to see that, okay, this defense is meshing together and it's led by Jalen Ramsey.
And led with him getting Defensive Player of the Week in the AFC. I was shocked that he had never won that award before. But yeah, not even on the Jaguars.
Or do you think McDaniel was trolling at one point? I didn't even look that up because he even said also.
Can we fact check that?
Let's look that up real quick. So let's see who gets it in first.
Yeah, you go for it.
So Jalen Ramsey, Defensive Player of the Week.
As you do that, I will say one of the things you walk away with in watching this episode is the unity in this team. I mean, we saw last week, Teron Armstead, left tackle, is always bringing together the old linemen for dinners and stuff like that. And you saw Chubb in this episode bringing everybody together. There's like this unity in the room, even so much so when Phillips goes down, it's like the whole team's around him, praying for him, encouraging him. There's just a lot of things that I see that are positive, like I've never seen before from my Dolphins,
Yeah, this defense is a family. I mean, we saw how they all mesh together. I love the little vintage throwback to the Dolphins defense. But it was like the no-name defense.
Yes,
and
I wrote that down.
That.
Great call out there. The moment that happened, I was watching with my dad tonight, and I said, "Man, these guys, NFL Films, really did their homework. Like,
so good.
Nobody ever brings up the no-name Dolphins defense. I mean, we were literally not even a thought in our parents' mind when that no-name defense was a thing. But that is like, I feel like that's the iconic Fangio defense, right? It's kind of like
Yeah.
everybody step up, and that's going to be the key the rest of the season is, hey, who's going to step up for Phillips? Next man up, as our other famous coach in the city says, Spoelstra. It's next man up. Van Ginkel's going to have to step up. Ogba's going to have to step up. We'll see what we get from JPP at this point.
Yeah, with some new signing,
Yeah,
JPP.
Jason Pierre-Paul, who
Nice.
used to play for the both championship-winning Giants, and I think he also won a championship, a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, the year that Brady was there, if I'm not mistaken. So that's crazy.
Just to go back on the Jalen Ramsey thing, this is his second Defensive Player of the Week honor. He also honored his performance on December 24th, which is funny because that's Christmas Eve right there. We have a Christmas Eve game coming up this year too against Tennessee, and he returned a touchdown for Jaguars.
Against the Cowboys.
No, I'm saying that the one that Ramsey played in, he played against Tennessee. And he took it to the house.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So
that was when he was on
his
the
second one. Yeah, that's when he was on the Jags. So you called that right, Jags. Interesting, very interesting. That's only second time.
Yeah. Speaking of Ramsey, although he hasn't really been interviewed yet on the show, who did get interviewed was our boy who we knew wanted to be on Hard Knocks, Wilkins. Wilkins with the most epic shirtless entrance. I mean, he was just, he was dying to be on Hard Knocks. And bro, que jodedor, like what a prankster. Like he's everything you think he is when you watch him live on TV. He's like the jokester, but at the same time, he's cerebral as hell, man. Like he's really cerebral. He galvanizes like that D line. Sealer's a beast. Like there's a unity in our D line that starts with those two. It feels like, and they have like the same way we saw like the Chubb Phillips dynamic in this episode. Feels like Sealer and Wilkins got that same dynamic.
For sure, I wrote that down. I feel like everybody has their like buddy.
Yeah,
like get your partner, get your buddy, and Jaelan Phillips and Bradley Chubb is definitely them. Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard is definitely them.
Yeah.
And then you have Wilkins and Sealer, who, bro, they feed off of each other. Wilkins is the leader of that D line, and he's a beast, bro. He's a beast, and it's cool to see him lead as a jokester. But at the same time, he means business. Like he's like, I love football, and this is my life. So it was cool to see that too.
Dude, I wonder how many fans of football who don't have a team, who just kind of root for whoever, are going to become fans of the Dolphins through this show, because on a short week, it's Thanksgiving week, and all our guys are out there serving on Thanksgiving. Tua, bro, who's more likable than Tua Tagovailoa? Like he's in the back of the truck saying, hey, I don't got to be the face of this. Let me just hand out turkeys. Like such a humble Christian dude. Just good dude all around. I don't think I've ever rooted, not just because he's on my team, but I don't think I've ever rooted for a player to win a Super Bowl as bad as Tua. And just the healthy place that this whole team is at. He throws 2 picks in the Jets game that we see the behind the scenes of. And even after the second pick, McDaniel's like, don't sweat it, dude. Don't sweat it.
Well, what's up with that? Like, he's like, all right, man, move on, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're on. No one's shaking. He even smiled at one point. Like he laughed at the pick 6.
And they keep it real too, because you have Darryl Bevel, who came up to him in the locker room and said, hey, 2 bad plays there. So they're not sugarcoating it or kissing his butt either. They're like, hey, 2 bad plays. No doubt there were 2 horrible throws, but you got to shake them off. You're still a baller. Keep slinging it. You're a gunslinger, right?
Yeah, he moves. I feel like the whole team doesn't get shaken. Like it's just how we play. You know, at the end of the day, we could be down 30, or we could be playing good and have a moment like that.
Yeah.
And Tua knows. I feel like we talked about this all year too, where this team understands where they're lacking and they pick it back up. So it's good to see that.
I think this episode did a lot too in highlighting not just the. I feel like episode 1 introduces you to the guys who are most famous on the team, right? So you get introduced to McDaniel, to Tyreek being the most famous on the team. Those guys really who are the focal point of episode 1. But then episode 2, you get like the whole organization in a way, right? Because you get not just the players, but you get every single positions coach gets a little bit of shine. My favorite, personally, being seeing the receiver room with Welker and him bringing in a tidbit of Patriots culture with, hey, Belichick always said after Thanksgiving, that's when the real football season starts. And just that constant, starting from the top with McDaniel saying, hey, this is not our Super Bowl. They
Yeah.
win. Somebody in the background's kind of messing around saying Victory Monday. He says, nah,
Mm-hmm.
hell no. We got to get back to work. This is not our Super Bowl. We got more to work for. And the whole team's down for it. Even Ramsey pulling his own Ed Reed moment where he's like, hey, F that. Whoop they ass. Like beat them
Yeah.
down. Like we're not winning by one score. And when your leaders like Ramsey, Tyreek, Jaelan Phillips, even though he went down, like all of our star players have that sort of hunger to prove themselves and to win and to not settle, dude, the team's going to go to a very deep run, I think, this year, personally.
Yeah, we're definitely on the way. Could kind of talk about how you said, like, everybody has this, f this good stuff. We got to be elite, which that's what Ramsey said. Even in the beginning of the episode, he said, "F all that good stuff.
Yep.
We got to be elite." And there's an interesting similarity within all of them, which is what they've been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Ramsey's been to the
Think
Super
about it.
Bowl. Tyreek's been to the Super Bowl.
One Super Bowl.
McDaniel.
Well, not
McDaniel has
McDaniel.
Well, excuse me. McDaniel's been to 2 NFC championships.
Yeah.
So it's like some know how to win the whole thing, and there's some that know how hard it is to get there. So it's like, bro, all gas, no brakes. We got to keep pushing. So it was cool to see this, especially this defense. This defense be highlighted. Jaelan Phillips, Christian Wilkins, seeing them talk, seeing them how they play, bro. They're a bunch of dogs.
And for
it's cool
once,
to see
seeing despite, because I feel like we had such a track record in the Finns for years, where we pick up that guy who won on another team, and then he comes here and he's mentally washed, like he's not as hungry as he was on his former team. And I feel like that was like the running theme with a lot of guys that we signed. And now it's like nobody thought Hill was going to be performing to the degree of getting a perhaps record-breaking reception year, right? Nobody thought that. Okay. And he came over here and, changed the culture alongside McDaniel. That was like one of the biggest moves that they made when McDaniel just got hired. Greer came to him and said, hey, you want us to go get Tyreek Hill? I think that's literally the story. He said, hell yeah, go get Tyreek Hill.
that
Because
story is beautiful. Yeah,
we talked about that. Like, what would the play calling have looked like if we had like Tony Sperano as the coach of this team with Tyreek Hill? Like, he's just running Ted Ginn routes the whole time. That's probably what would have happened, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I agree. I think it's good, but where we're gonna move on to on this one?
We're gonna go to game day, starting with Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, Flavor Flav chain, and McDaniel trying to work a little contract incentive there for his own version of the chain.
I think, bro, McDaniel is such a cool dude, bro. Like, he's such a cool dude. I don't know if you could even tell. Like, even the Jets coach was there, which is Robert Saleh.
Yeah,
and he seemed like kind of annoyed. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. He kind of seemed in the background, like, yeah, that's funny. And obviously, 2 different seasons going on. He's having a difficult time, so he has to go against our team. But bro, McDaniel doesn't change, and even with a simple ownership bling chain that comes down to it.
Yeah.
It was funny, but it was game day, bro, and it was a game that we needed to win.
I'm a big Robert Saleh fan, by the way. I respect him. I think he's a solid coach. But it's got to be annoying seeing just the success of the guy across from you. And McDaniel has this way about him that, if that's your competitor, and he's a nice guy, so he's just chatting it up, but he's also a killer. Like deep down beneath that, quirky McGenius play caller, thing he's got going, he's also a killer too. But even when he's talking to the room, right? He's not getting verbal responses from the team, despite like his impassioned speech. Everybody there, when they cut to the camera of the D lineman, they're like,
yeah, straight faced.
Nobody's showing any emotion. Nobody's like, yeah, coach, yeah. It's none of that. It's just like silence, and you're hoping it's resonating. And he's talking as if he's, sounding off like, a battle speech where everybody's giving him feedback.
I'll take it as people are listening. Like, people just listening. Like, they know him. They're
for sure.
Like, here goes coach.
Yeah,
here goes coach. Something to point out about game day, bro, that I loved. It's at New York. It's a Black Friday game. It's at 3 p.m. Even Jaylen Phillips was one time was like,
hey, Chris, we won't get this wrong. First ever Black Friday game. We won't have to be fact checked there.
First ever to win a Black Friday game. Let's go. Even even Phillips didn't know what time it was. We play at 8. No, we play like at 3:30. He's like,
Yes,
no, I think it's like
yeah.
3. He goes, what? Why?
Which didn't make sense to me either. I was like, why is this game at 3 o'clock?
I read something that had to do with the television laws. I mean, if you want to look this up while I talk about this little thing, but it has to do some about some television laws about what time a game should be, like a sports game or something like that, mixing with it. I don't know. I read some quick article that had to do with that because even people were complaining, like, why is this at 3 p.m.? But one thing I was going to say while you looked that up is that shout out to the Dolphin fans, man. Finn's takeover of MetLife, bro. The fans showed up and at numbers. So it was cool to see, even at a rival stadium, that the Dolphins fans showed up. Dolphins fans showed up. The NFL Films followed them, and it was great to see that.
All right, I found a Reddit concerning the early start time for Black Friday, and somebody put here, I believe it has something to do with not being allowed to broadcast on Friday nights because of high school or college football, similar to why they don't broadcast on Saturdays until after the college season ends. And then somebody else commented saying, because Al Michaels still has energy midday. Hey, no respect, no disrespect to Al Michaels, bro. He's one of the GOATs. But nonetheless,
That makes sense.
He said a story about Mike McDaniel on the broadcast. I don't know if you caught it. And McDaniel had to clarify yesterday morning or today, where Al Michaels said that McDaniels met his wife by stealing her from another guy on the team who was dancing with her at some bar or a club, and then threatened to cut him from the team if he didn't stop dancing with her. And then McDaniel said the guy knew her for 45 seconds. Like, they didn't know each other, and it was a joke. Like, I have no power to make those decisions anyways. But Al Michaels said it with such a seriousness that I was like, yo, it's kind of douchey to kind of like, you're going to cut somebody from the team. But
it was funny. It was cool. It was a cool story. And the fact that McDaniel was like, y'all just made me look like a D-bag.
Yeah.
Like, y'all made me look like a D-bag. But yeah, 3 p.m. game, Black Friday. I was excited to watch it. It was a good game.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I think the highlight of the game for everybody was what will forever be known for the Jets fans as the Hail Mary, which was after 2 straight Tua picks, okay, back-to-back drives.
Yeah.
They get the ball at the 50 or near the 50, or they take it to the 50, and they throw the ball deep into the end zone. Jevon Holland, who's actually a kick returner or was a kick returner, has those skills like in his muscle memory. I've never seen a play like that in my life, a Hail Mary being run back for a touchdown with no time remaining. Like, that's insanity.
Yeah. One I want to say is why go for the Hail Mary? Like, they were like, going in. I understand they were losing the ball, but I'm like, I guess so. Yeah, risk it, right?
There's only 2 seconds left. It was like,
risk it.
You're not thinking they're gonna be able to take it 99 yards.
That was insane. Jevon Holland brings it back calmly, running through. He sees the lanes, and what does this defense do?
Start
block.
Yeah,
I loved it. Christian Wilkins, Zach Zeeler, I don't know who else, but we're just out there pancaking dudes. Like, oh, he's taking it back. He takes the 99 yards, no flags, and what happens? McDaniel runs off the field.
Forgetting about the extra point.
He forgot about the extra point, which I thought was awesome because he looked out and he goes, "Hey, wait, we got extra point."
Extra point.
Oh man!
Hey, Sealer got some reps at the O-line though during practice. Did you notice when he jumped in? Yeah. So
what are we doing?
Yeah, he was working on his blocking at practice that week.
That pick six definitely changed the game going into the halftime. It was we needed that big time.
All right, let's look forward here, Chris. Pull up our Dolphins schedule, and we're gonna look forward into what we got going on the rest of the year on Hard Knocks and where this Dolphin season could go. What we're most looking forward to, the storylines and the narratives that we must shatter this year as Dolphin fans. And
well,
we'll go from there. Who do we got coming up on Sunday? This Sunday.
Next Sunday, this Sunday, excuse me, 1 p.m. game. We're at the Washington Commanders,
aka the Redskins. They'll always be the Redskins. Always be the Redskins.
Commander's just a stupid name. We can agree, right?
I can agree that the Redskins logo was dope. The name was
Yes.
cooler. I know people
Yes.
say that it is a insensitive name, but I don't think I feel like that was just a move to I don't think everybody was down with that. Like how much merch and memorabilia do people own from that team? But hey, you got the
Amazing players
Commanders.
that played for that
The
team.
Commanders don't stick. Like the name, if it's gonna be something else, it has to be something more catchy because every time I go to say Commanders, I want to say Commodores. I even think the Commodores would be a cooler name than Commanders. But
Yeah,
Commanders
that's
just it doesn't stick. Doesn't stick.
yeah.
And I think of those Redskin teams with RG3, like how epic they were.
Sean
You know,
Taylor.
Sean Taylor, yeah, man.
Rest in peace, Sean
I like
Taylor.
I like I like tradition. I like tradition, man. It's like the Kansas City. I mean, you got to change the Chiefs too. Are the Cleveland Indians? They're not the Indians anymore, right?
No, not anymore. They're the Cleveland Guardians.
That's
They're
horrible.
the
I mean,
Guardians.
it just doesn't stick. I think of those, you know, epic Indian teams in the '90s, and just
I mean,
whatever. Anyways, we
right.
got the Commanders on Sunday.
We have Commanders on
Okay.
Sunday, and then we come back home,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be at this game. Monday night
Monday
football,
night.
prime time against the Tennessee Titans.
I love it. Tannehill coming back. Actually, no,
Yeah,
he's injured.
yeah, he's done. Yeah, so we have Will Levis, Derrick Henry,
Okay.
a good coach team by Mike Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be a good primetime game. Um, I think those are both wins. So going into our other
Kirk
home game
Kirk
against
Herbstreit essentially said we're gonna sleepwalk into 11-3 because our next games, I know what they are. We got
next three
Commanders,
games, yeah,
Titans.
Jets,
Believe we got Jets. Then we have Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills.
yeah,
Those are our games. We got three contenders in there, right? We got the Cowboys,
big time
Ravens,
contenders.
and Bills, right? Not if the
Yeah,
Bills keep on losing games, but nonetheless, they got to go to Arrowhead this week to go play the Chiefs after, not this week, but when they come back from their bye. So really, the Dolphins control their destiny as we might be going against the Ravens in week 16,
yep,
playing for the number 1 overall seed in the conference, which would be massive. So that I think would be huge because we got this narrative going with Tua in cold weather games. First, we got to shatter that one because he balled out against Buffalo in the snow last year.
mm-hmm.
Two, Tua's never played a playoff game. He may have won a national championship, but he's never officially stepped into the playoffs, despite him being integral for us being in the playoffs last year, right?
Yeah,
So he's gotta step up in the playoffs and actually prove that he can win a playoff game. Not that I don't think he can, but like anybody, he this will be his first rodeo in the NFL playoffs.
yeah, he will definitely need to be sharpened up. That team needs to stay healthy. Like you said, that those last three games, man, they're not no walk in the park.
Mm-mm.
Cowboys, firepower, they're on it right now. Ravens, I
The
mean, even last year we had an issue with them, but then we had the Tua beautiful comeback game, which was great.
yeah,
And then the Bills, man, the Bills is our kryptonite right now. They're
you
our kryptonite.
you know what the benefit though of those 3 games ending the season with them is that oftentimes when you play a crappy team, right? And the NFL really doesn't have any crappy teams because you can lose any week. But we see more a team like the Commanders, and we think that that's way easier than, of course, against the Ravens, right?
Yeah,
But nonetheless, it's such a parity-driven league that you see. The Broncos won this week. Who did the Broncos beat?
the Broncos beat. That's a
They
good
keep
question.
on they keep on upsetting teams. The Jets beat the Eagles. The Eagles are 9-1, and the Jets beat the Eagles, right? So you see over and over again these teams that have bad records beating favorites to win the Super Bowl or to
The
get first.
Browns,
They beat the Browns. That's a upset right there. At least the way the season
big
was
time
going prior.
defense. Yeah,
But my point is, oftentimes when you play these teams with bad records, you lower your level of play to meet them where their level of play is, rather than when you play the great teams always elevate their game, no matter who they're playing. They take
for
care
sure.
of business. The Dolphins have proven that they can beat that we take care of business against the poor record teams. We got to elevate our game to end the year against 3 top contenders, right? And so we're ending the year against these teams that are we're going to probably see 2 of them in the playoffs if we're able to go far enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Cowboys, they got to take care of business on their side of the bracket with the Eagles and the Niners over there. So We got 3 potential rematches in the 3 final games of the season. If obviously the Cowboys would be the Super Bowl, so that would be the best case scenario. But
Yeah,
yeah, I like the fact that we're going to have to be elevating our play to meet those teams who are all going to be playing for something, right? The Cowboys are going to be fighting for a higher seed or a higher record than someone else so they can get home field. The Bills are going to be fighting for their lives because they're 6-6 right now. So every game matters for them. They have to win out to be 11-3 right now, I would think. Or no,
basically.
to be
No,
11-6.
yeah, 11-6, and
Yeah.
and need some other things happening.
And,
So
and the
I mean,
Ravens need to stay ahead of us
yeah,
and the Chiefs to get the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs.
everyone's struggling in their own way.
Yeah.
They're struggling in their own way. To come back to that episode, uh, we're at the point where towards the end of the episode where we lose one of our cornerstones of our
Yeah. Yeah.
defense, who's having an amazing year. And bro, to talk about that a little bit, I man, HBO is so good at this. At the end of the day, it's like they built it up. They built it. It's like you see the plays about to happen, especially if you watch the game.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and he lined up, and he takes his first step, like he said at the end of the episode. I've done this 1,000 times, and he said I felt like someone stepped on me, or I got shot in the back of my ankle, and I looked behind me, I saw no one, and you saw genuine shock,
Yeah.
on Jaylen Phillips' face, turn into
Tears.
reality hitting. He's like, I'm done for my season, and this was my
Hard.
superstar moment.
Yeah. It was heartbreaking,
Man, it was
man.
difficult.
Because your adrenaline's rushing at that level, right? So his adrenaline's going, right? Because he's in the middle of the game. He's got, I don't know who it was. It might have been Chubb or it might have been Wilkins or another D lineman who was like, you didn't pop, you didn't tear it. Shut up, you didn't tear it.
Yeah,
And they're trying to calm him down, telling him to breathe. Because your heart's probably going 100 miles an hour in that situation. And then his history of what the injuries he struggled with. But he's a fighter, man. You see it. The kid is a fighter. He's gonna bounce back from this if he takes the
for
steps, and
sure.
I think he's already taking the steps. I haven't done research as to know whether he did the surgery. I did listen to the Pat McAfee show a little bit today, and Rogers was talking about how he reached out to him to tell him about the surgery he did for his Achilles, which is like a groundbreaking surgery. If anybody wants to look that up in the audience, and man, I pray that he's able to bounce back. He's young, and I think he has a contract year next year, so it would be nice to see him bounce back in a major way.
Yeah, and he will. I feel like he will. And bro, these things happen. These things happen in football teams.
Football.
Yep, it's football, bro. What do you expect? But I loved the reaction of the team. Like, all right, we saw everyone was distraught. We saw everyone was broken, especially Chubb. We saw that little big brother, little brother moments throughout the whole episode, which I thought was awesome because we always see them dancing around on the field, sacking and do these sack dances and stuff like that. But it's next man up mentality, like we talked earlier. Gink finally spoke. I ain't gonna lie. I think that was like the first time I ever heard
First time
him.
I've ever heard Van Ginkel speak, bro.
I'm like, wow, he sounds awesome.
Yeah,
He
he
sounds
does.
cool.
He does. Yeah.
These guys got to step up, man. Ogba and these guys will step up. I feel like they will. Like the way they fight, they should do it. And then we picked up, like you said, Jason Pierre-Paul, which is another vet, and we just got to keep moving. So we got to keep moving. This is just one little. I think McDaniel always says it. He's like, it's just another piece of adversity that we
Yep.
got to go through,
Yep.
and they'll get through it.
All right, Chris. What was your favorite scene in the episode, and who stole the show for you on this one?
Man, favorite scene in the episode. I think every scene that Christian Wilkins was in,
It was he stole it. Yeah.
it's just he stole it, bro. I loved it. I loved it. That he led this team. He was a jokester. We saw it. And what was that? I said that was my favorite scene.
That was your favorite scene. It was anything with him. So he
Yeah,
was
it
your
was
favorite
pretty much
character
anything
too.
with him, bro.
Yeah.
I just feel like every time he came out, bro, I was just laughing, smiling, and it was cool. It was a great episode to see some defensive players and see how they grind this win out.
Yeah.
So
All right. So my favorite character was Jalen Ramsey, I'd have to say. Specifically with a couple of things he says, because I just love his mentality, bro. Like he's a dog, like just straight up. And what he said in the locker room, like, nah, F that. It just reminded me,
yeah.
it reminded me of Ed Reed so badly. Like
Mhm.
when Ed Reed had that speech where he's like almost crying in the locker room when he's like, Coach told us to dominate. We're not doing it. And they were winning in that game. Like when he said that speech, they were winning. Like, but he wanted to dominate. That's what I want to see from my team. McDaniel had the funniest scene and my favorite scene of the episode, which was the replay of him getting roundhouse kicked by the number 87 on the Raiders, and him saying candidly, that hurt like a mother. And I had to just pretend like it didn't. And you're hearing this commentary while seeing him trying to play it off like he wasn't totally in pain. But
bleeding.
Yeah,
a bleeding shoulder.
Bleeding. And aside from that, obviously Jevon's Hail Mary is the most memorable play of the year, maybe. Yeah. Aside from Rams, the iconic plays this year so far, that Tua throw to Tyreek against the Chargers in week 1, was disgusting. Okay, anyone look that up? I don't even need to specify it. It was insane. The Ramsey game-winning pick against the Raiders and this Hail Mary have to be the 3. And then the whole Denver Broncos game, whooping them 70-20. All right, let's round this out. Thank you, Chris, for joining on another episode of Hard Knocks on Story Archives. You got any final words before I do some housekeeping?
No, man. I feel like for everyone who's loving this content, thank you. Thank you guys for listening and emailing. That's awesome to see. We just hope for a great season ahead of us. And even if you just love football, love the Dolphins, we just want to see something great to content. So we're here for it. So thank you, Mario. Appreciate it.
We're here for it, and we're here for all 12 episodes, hopefully. Hopefully, we're still talking about this show and commentating on it in February. I want to thank you all for tuning in, all of you out there who are Story Archives fan and sports fans enough to be tuning into our Hard Knocks coverage. If that's not quite your cup of tea, we're also covering Monarch Legacy of Monsters every week on Apple TV. It's excellent. I recommend it, starring Kurt Russell and several other star actors who are just killing it. Really interesting sci-fi, mystery, that kind of thing. And we're also doing For All Mankind Season 4 currently. So stay tuned for that. I also just finished reading The Songbirds of Ballad and Snakes, the Hunger Games prequel, and I plan on watching that movie in theaters. So expect a little solo show on that pretty soon. And yeah, plenty more coming at you on the network. It's just a matter of what we got time for. And I hope you all are enjoying this holiday season. You're enjoying it with some nice cold weather, maybe warming up by the fire somewhere with some hot chocolate. We'll see you on the next week's episode of Hard Knocks, and I will see you tomorrow night for All Mankind Season 4, and just stay tuned with us the rest of the week. We got episodes coming every single day this week, so peace.
Let's go. Fins for the win.
Again.
And again.
We got to keep on adding an again if we keep winning on a winning streak. So
let's do it.